Hi, this is Veronica with Live Safe Home Inspections. We're here in Lockbuoy, Colorado. We've got a single family home. It's a manufactured house, about 1,400 square feet. It is occupied, but the occupants are not currently home, so we'll be able to move around freely. So let's go ahead and get started on the roof, the exterior, and then we'll head inside. I always start on the outside when I arrive at a property. I will take a picture from the front center. As I'm walking, I'm looking just to kind of identify what type of foundation it is. I see that it looks like we have a crawl space. I'll take a picture from this corner. I'm looking for the grade, checking fences, just taking an overview of what's happening around the property. See some missing downspouts. Take another picture from this corner, checking the grade again. Once I get those, I will go ahead and head up on the roof. Standards of practice state you want the ladder 3 feet above correct angle here. Want to use a tie off so your ladder doesn't move. I'm waiting on a mechanical tie off to come. Like that a little bit better. I always head up to the top of the roof first, looking around as I go. I'm always feeling for any deflection in the roof, soft spots, things like that. I'll go ahead and take a couple pictures here. Starting to take a look at the roof vents, see how many there are, see if it's sufficient. Checking the nails, a little bit of exposure here. You want to make sure that those are caulked. And I'll go ahead and come down and start walking the actual roof. Looking for exposed nails, proper installation of the shingles. See some Christmas lights, debris. Christmas lights don't belong on the roof. It can hold some water, possibly attract other things. Taking it step by step, checking this valley here. Want to make sure that the shingles are installed properly. I'm gonna hop down here and check the flashing in this area. Heading over this way, there's a tree next to the roof, so we want to check, make sure it's trimmed away. I'll go ahead and take a picture, possibly just note that it should be kept trimmed away from the tree since the tree is kind of close to the roof line. Head up to this point and just take a look from this direction. I'm looking at the vents, bathroom vents, looking for any damage, checking the flashing, looking for exposed fasteners. See some damage here. That may be the water heater flue. Looks like we've got 2 plumbing stacks. This roof looks pretty good. I'm not seeing any exposed fasteners. Shingles appear to be spaced properly. Ventilation looks sufficient. Come down a little closer to the edge. There's a little bit of debris in the gutters due to the surrounding trees. I'll just take a walk along this edge here. A little bit more damage, possibly hail damage on this vent here. Clearance is a little low on that vent depending on what that actually goes to. Maybe a bathroom vent. I do see on this, probably for the furnace, there's some collapsed boot here, and probably need some caulking around here. I'm gonna just give those a quick tug, Make sure that they're not floppy. That's about it for this roof. Checked all the penetrations. As I get down, I'm going to be checking for the number of layers. It appears to be one, but I always like to just lift the front edge, see if we can see ice and water barrier. Make sure that it's installed properly. I can see that it is. It comes down over the drip edge. Drip edge in the gutters looks good, and as I come down, I'll be checking the fascia, boards, soffits. I take my tie off. Always forget that. So when I get down off the roof, I go ahead and put any defects or deficiencies that I found into the software. I don't like to do it on the roof, just for safety purposes. So I'll go ahead and mark everything that I found and add the pictures to it. So what I typically do once I'm finished inputting the roof information is I will go ahead and come to the side of the house that you don't really have access to the backyard. Typically there's one side that has a gate. So I'm going to go ahead and just take another look here, take another picture, look for some of the things that I couldn't see from the roof. I start at the top, so I'm looking for the drip edge, making sure that it's there and that it's installed properly. Checking the fascia boards. I do see some screws and nails. Those should be caulked just so that it doesn't damage the boards. I'm going to come up, find out what the actual material is. This is hardboard, cement board. Checking the soffits and the soffit vents. As much as I can see, I want to see if they're clear. These are really small ones. Sometimes you're light. I can actually see that it's clear. I can see the decking of the roof in some areas. So it doesn't look like these are clogged. So I'm walking along this outside. I'm going to stop, step back, look at the foundation wall, checking for clearance of the siding. This is good clearance. I'm looking for cracks, any other deficiencies of the concrete. I'm going to work my way up. I'm looking at the trim. I'm looking for drip cap over the windows. This caulking and paint actually looks really nice. I'm not seeing any gaps. As I go around, I'm also checking for the gas main shutoff. We've got the gas meter back behind us here. I'll take a picture of that and make a note of where it's located. And it looks like we've got a secondary shutoff here with a lever. There is some corrosion on the line, so I will note that, just that it's rusted. And then as we come around, what I like to do with the software that I use is just to take the pictures of each item. So right now I'm looking at the deck, and I'm going to start at one side, check the railing. I'm checking for spacing. Normally I would like to look underneath the deck to see what the components look like, but there's no ground clearance here, so I can't see that. I'll just go ahead and walk, see if I can feel any defects, any flexing of the boards, see if I have any other access to visually check it. Although these spindles are not perfectly horizontal, they could still be potentially climbed by a child. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that as a cautionary. And there's no access all the way around, so I will go ahead and mark that up as such. While I'm up here, I saw this outlet is missing a cover. Exterior outlets should have a cover. I like to take pictures to show that I tested an exterior outlet and an interior outlet. Then I'm going to continue just around the side of the house, checking foundation, trim, siding, soffits, fascia. Downspout extension here is missing. So now I'm just going to pause for a minute and go ahead and put all that into my report. So continuing around the outside, I'm just going to take some pictures of the siding, general photos. Again, walking around, checking foundation. I see possible condensation line here. Looks like they had some sort of filler in there, but that should be caulked and sealed. Keep rodents and pests out of the crawl space. Some damaged siding here. There's another missing downspout, and I'm checking for the grade of the house. I'll go ahead and take another picture. Looks like there's a gap up here in the fascia and soffit area. I just want to make sure there's no pets or animals around before you enter the backyard. Checking the gate. Some loose areas here. I believe this is a gate, not just a fence, so that'll open up. Go ahead and come in here. Check this gate hardware. I like to check things as I go through them. Make sure that they'll latch. There are some damaged and worn areas of the fence, so I'll note that. Take an overall picture of the back of the house, the yard. And back to the house, I'm seeing, this might be a dryer vent. Looks like there's some clogging in there. That's an improper vent. It should have a flap that'll open up and let that lint and debris out, and then close back when it's finished. Check these steps, make sure all the pavers are sturdy, nothing's loose or falling. There's a missing light cover here. Looks like there's no power to this outlet. Small hole in the siding there, so checking for drip cap or doors and windows. There's a little bit of rusting and corrosion on this fresh air vent to the crawl space. You can see that they added some board there, maybe to help keep water out. Check the hose bib. While I'm here, I'll go ahead and test the water pressure. When there's owner's items on here, I try not to disturb them if possible. Checking for leaks, drips. I'll go ahead and take an overall picture, checking if it's anti-siphon. And then I'll grab a picture of the water pressure, which is between 90 and 100, so that's a little bit high. We want it between 40 and 80 PSI. People have different opinions on where they like that to be set. So damaged siding in various locations is what the report will say. I'm checking the drainage here. The slope at the house looks a little bit low here. It could be a low spot, possibly from some settling from that faucet there. Checking for caulking and trim around the door and trim. Another light cover missing. You want the light cover there so that if something hits, you don't break the light bulb. So this downspout extension ties into an exterior drain line. We just note that to make sure that it's kept clear. And I'm gonna try to just reach around here and get to this electrical box. If it's possible without damaging their property, I'll scoot something out of the way. Always touch the box with the back of your hand first. Make sure it's not live. I like to take an overall picture. So this is just a main shut off at the exterior. The label is faded, so I can't read it to see what the rating is, but I can see that it's a 100 amp breaker. I'll take a picture of that. Right here on the side of this house is a certificate showing that this is a pre-manufactured home. So I'll take a picture of that. Shows the installer's name, the date of installation, 2006. Coming around the side of the house, I like to just take some general photos of the condition of the yard. I usually like to say hello to the animals. Here we've got a crawl space. Owner left it open for us, which is nice. I'm going to note that we've got an electrical cord going from the interior through this window. Not sure what they use it for. And the sprinkler system here, the box is exposed. Just checking the siding, double checking the drip edge when you can see a little bit better angle here. Also, I like to look at the ice and water from the edge. Sometimes you can see that they butted it up next to each other rather than overlapping it. This looks like it has a proper overlap. Once again, just looking at the drainage, slope away from the house. Some of it you can't see, and if you can't see it, you want to go ahead and note that so that it's in the report that you couldn't see all of it. Again, some more damaged areas of the fence. So I'll go ahead and pause now. That's the full exterior of the house. I'll go ahead and pause and put that into my software. Now that we finished the outside, we're gonna go ahead and go in. I know that this is a vacant house, but regardless, you should always knock. I'm looking for a doorbell. There's not one. Wait, knock again. If no one's home, no one's answering, go ahead and enter. As you open the door, hello, inspector. Hello, inspector. If this was a multi-level house, I would also announce myself as I go to a separate level. So I'll go ahead and come in, get my shoe covers on. And the first thing I'll do is head in, take a look around, make sure no one's here, turn on some lights. So once we've confirmed that no one's in the house, I come back to the front door, check the outside light, that it's working. Go ahead and close the door, check the mechanicals, check for daylight. There's some daylight coming through, so there's a seal that's not quite installed properly. Sometimes an adjustment will help. And then I'll go ahead and go look for the mechanicals. So I see attic access in this closet here. Just going to take a quick quick look around. I'm not seeing the mechanicals right away. I'll just keep going while I'm in the bathroom. I'll run a little bit of water, flush a toilet. Not too much since I'm not checking yet. I don't want to flood anything in case there's a leak somewhere. As I'm walking, I'll just look around, look at the ceiling and walls, flooring. Here's a laundry room. It looks like we've got a heater here, possibly a furnace. So I'm going to go ahead and just step back into the kitchen and start the dishwasher since I'm going to be right here in the same room. Go ahead and pull these out. Make sure that the racks are good, moving properly. Close the door and get it started. Okay, I'll check on that in just a second. And same with the washer. So what I'm noticing here is that this door has a vent on it, as well as this access cover has a vent on it. So I'm guessing that it's not going to have combustion air vents, so I'm going to make sure and keep that in the back of my mind to look for those. Ideally, the combustion air would be coming from the exterior of the house. So now we've opened up the access for the furnace, it looks like. Now that we've opened it, I do recall this is a high efficiency model, so it does have the air and intake and exhaust going out through the roof. Go ahead and take a look around. I see some moisture stains on the pipes here, and I see some staining on the ceiling. So there was a dented boot up there and a boot that needed some caulking, so it could be that that's what's causing that. Or it could be old and they've already had it fixed, so we're not sure if that's active or not. I will grab my thermal camera in here in just a minute just to double check, although we haven't had any rain or snow, so it's unlikely that we would see anything active up there. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to look for the label, checking to see if this is dirty inside. It is a bit dusty. I recommend that it be serviced. Checking the emergency shutoff switch that it has not been overridden. I see there is a reusable vent right up there at the top, a filter, I'm sorry. 3-amp fuse on the board. And if I can, I want to try to get back there and take a look at the blower. It's a bit dirty. Trying to get the serial number to confirm the age. Some labels don't have a manufacturing date, so we have to look it up online. Manufacturer is York. Once again, the interior is a little bit dusty. Some moisture stains. Those could be old. It looks like they've been cleaned. So we just note it, kind of a light note that says previous leaking. Once I check that, I'll put this cover back on so we can run it. So I'm going to go ahead and find the thermostat, and I take a beginning picture. I like to see what it's set at. to begin with. 68, sometimes it's tricky, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and crank it all the way up. So it's actually, it was 68, but I'm gonna put it on heat. It's set to 72. And I'm gonna crank it up. And I'm gonna remember that it's set to 72 so I can set it back later when I'm finished. So I like to come back to the furnace, try and watch it kick on. I can get a picture of the ignition. And then I wanna listen for the exhaust fan to kick on. I'm listening for it to cycle. Listening for any strange noises. And while I'm waiting for that, I'll just go ahead and start filling in my information. This is a sealed burn chamber, but I am gonna try to take a look, make sure that there's no orange flames. You wanna see pure blue. Understand that the ratio is set properly. If there were orange flames, I would recommend servicing by a qualified technician. Now that it's running, I'm going to go ahead and let that run. Let the heat start pumping a little bit, and then we'll go check the registers. Make sure that the whole house is heating. Take a quick look around the washing machine, it's not leaking. I'll take a quick look at this dishwasher before it gets too far running. I like to run my hand across, and actually I feel a little bit of moisture here. Dishwasher's leaking. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that. And I will get a picture of that. And this is the thing, you can't see it. There's no puddle of water there. It's only because I ran my hand across there and I felt the moisture that I was able to know that it was leaking. So we did not get to the point where the door opened, so I can't confirm that this was fully functional, but I'm gonna go ahead and drain it. I'm gonna just take a quick peek under the sink, make sure that the drain isn't leaking anywhere. And I'm looking for a leaky drain, but I'm also taking note of a few other items that are incorrect down there. So right now, typically what I would do while the furnace is running and heating up, I would go ahead and look at the water heater, but there's no access to the water heater here. It's possible that it's under the house, but not likely. So I will go ahead and usually the next thing I do is go ahead and start in the kitchen. So I'm going to come around and get my pictures, take an overall picture, and then I like to start at the sink. Go ahead and run some water. So I'm feeling if this faucet is loose, slightly loose. You can see a bit of a wobble there. It's not leaking. Let's test the sprayer. If you recall, water pressure was a little high. Some people like it like that. I do always start it on hot. Take a picture of that, and then I'm going to go ahead and take a temperature reading. And that is very hot. We just topped out at 150, 152. Typically we want to see the water between 110, 120 max. As you get up over 120, 130, you've got a possibility of scalding. Run water in both sinks. Once I look under here, I'm looking at water supply lines. I'm looking at the drain. I'm ensuring that the setup is correct. It's got a P-trap installed. What I'm seeing is the dishwasher line, drain line, does not have a high loop. And this is a perfect example of why you can see mold and bacteria growing inside that line. That's mostly important when you have a garbage disposal attached. So I'm also looking for the supply line material. And right here it's PEX. So I don't see any active leaking after running water. some evidence of previous leaks. So I'm going to take those pictures. I'm going to pause for just a second and get this oven started. I'm going to take out any personal items and ensure there's nothing else in there. And then I'll go ahead and start the broiler. This GFCI was tripped. We may have done that when we were outside. There we go. So we may have tripped a breaker when we were outside testing the outlets. So I'm going to go ahead and let that oven start to broil. And while that's kicking up, I'm going to go ahead and start filling out the information for the sink and the kitchen in general. Check the outlets. Making sure that outlets within 6 feet of any water supply are GFCI protected. Appears that one is. This is a gas stove. So I'm using my nose. Got to use all 5 senses here. A lot of times when you start up a gas stove, you will smell some gas. So just keep an eye on it. Make sure that it doesn't continue to smell like gas. And I did it again. All right, so we check the sink, plumbing, drains. Checking the floors as I step right here. Feels like there's a bit of a soft spot. Maybe a little dip in the floor there. Checking walls and ceilings, looking for cracks, leaks, stains. So I checked the broiler. I'm going to go ahead and set it to bake, let that start warming up, and I will go ahead and light the burners. Make sure those all light properly. I feel like this might be a little bit low. For a gas stove, that should be higher than that. Gas stove, I think we want to see 24 inches above. Or this one is set at 16, so I take a picture close up and then back. Purpose of that is this is going to get hot and wear out and burn. Checking that for gas appliance, we've got a vent that goes out to the exterior. That was that low vent that went through the roof that I saw earlier. I like to turn on a fan while the stove is running to remind me to shut off the oven, because it's really easy to not see that running and forget to shut it off. But I also have another trick about that at the end of the inspection. So while that's warming up, I'm going to go ahead and input a little bit more information. Check for anti-tip. So right now this does not have an anti-tip device, which means if you open this door and set a heavy item on it, the whole stove could tip over, or potentially a child climbing on it could also tip over, and that's very dangerous. So now that I've shut off the oven, I double check all the burners are off, and I'll take a picture with my hand showing that everything is turned off. It's finished. Then I'll go ahead and shut off this vent. Now what I like to do is take my pictures of the refrigerator overall, just to check that it's working. I like to take temperature, freezer, temperature of the fridge. Then I'll check, make sure everything's functional, not damaged. Grab a picture of the label, since we offer a recall check. And then I go around and check all the cabinets, just make sure they all open and close. Looking for screws if I can see them. All right, and then I can hear that our dishwasher's done, and it looks like we are finished here in the kitchen. So I'm gonna go ahead and scooch over to the laundry room. Take my overall pictures. And actually I'm gonna pause because I can feel that heat is working. I'm gonna go ahead and go around, check for all the ducts and make sure that we got some heat kicking out, and we do. Go around and see as many as I can find. A lot of times they're covered up. Even if it's covered up, you can often feel if there's air and heat coming out. And I'll just take a couple pictures. I don't take a picture of each one. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and turn off that thermostat. Set it back to 72 where we had it. And I'm going to go ahead and shut it off because it was in the off position. Okay, back to the laundry room. Okay, so laundry, you don't have to test the appliances, but we do as a courtesy when possible. If there are items in there, we don't run it. So I'm gonna go ahead and run it, make sure that there's power to both of them. Take a picture, checking the floor, looking for water. I'm checking these valves. See some rusting around. I'm checking the drain as much as possible, so you can see the drain line is in there. Pretty good rusting and corrosion on that hot valve there. So it looks like we're behind the primary shower. There's an opening here in the wall, and I can see some moisture stains, possibly from a previous leak. That's the shower valve mechanism right there. Also trying to take a look at this PEX, just to confirm that it's proper PEX. And this looks like it could potentially be the main water shutoff. A lot of times they'll put a valve up top here so that you can reach it. It's actually leaking. There's an active water leak on there. Flashlight's too bright. There's actually water running down the wall there. It's not enough to leave a full puddle down there. Just a small drip, because these appliances are plugged in, I don't have any way to test the outlets besides running the appliances to confirm that there is power. I like to just check the dryer, make sure it's getting hot. Check the ceiling. I'm gonna use my camera, see if I can see what type of dryer vent it is. I know we saw on the exterior, it's not really exhausting properly through that vent cover that they had. And I can see that this dryer vent is dented up. Checking all ceilings and walls, doors. And I always try to put people's items back where I found them whenever possible. If this is still hot, I'm going to leave that open and just let it cool for a little bit before I put that back. So now we finished the laundry room, kitchen. I will go ahead and start usually with the bathroom on one side of the house and then just work my way across. So we'll start with this small one. Come in, I'm going to check the door. Make sure it latches. Here's that electrical cord we were talking about. Runs right over top of the sink. Once again, I'm running the water. I'm checking for drain leaks, supply line leaks, corrosion, shut-off valves, which there are no local shut-off valves under the sink, so if there was an issue, it'd be very difficult. You'd have to go find the water main. I'm also seeing a lot of caulking on this sink. With these sinks, there's the overflow that have a plastic liner there. They often leak, so I'm just double checking the faucet is set up properly. It is hot to the left, cold to the right. I'm going to go ahead and throw some water down that overflow and see if anything comes out. And it looks all right. They sealed it up. All right, so no shut-off valves. There's also no stopper in the sink and a little bit of damage. I'm going to go ahead and check outlet. Should be GFCI protected, which it is. Always want to reset your GFCI outlets. And I don't see a light on there. As if it didn't reset. Okay, so that could mean that there's multiple GFCI outlets on one circuit. So I'm going to go look and see if I can find where that is. So when this tripped, it tripped this outlet, and then it also tripped an outlet in the primary bathroom. So you have to reset it here, and then go reset it there, and then come back. Check in the toilet. We want to make sure it's not loose. So what I noticed when I started up the water in the tub, there's a slight discoloration. So maybe some rusting in the water heater. And so I flushed the toilet. I'm checking the supply valves, checking for any leaking around the side and the back, checking for leaking from the supply to the tank. That all looks good. So running some water. So I start the water at the bottom, and then I pull the diverter tab up, make sure that it's coming up to the shower properly. Checking for leaks at the shower head or the wall. Checking for leaks here. It's a slight drip there, but nothing to be concerned about. This is a full shower surround, so I'm just looking for cracks or damage. And there's no stopper in the tub, so no baths. So I'm listening for that diverter to kick back down. I'm also listening for the toilet to know that it stopped running when it was supposed to. It didn't run for too long. It's not continuing to run. I'm gonna be real careful. Just check this window. It opens pretty smoothly. But again, you've got that electrical cable going out the window. Light cover is missing. Also a little bit of rust and corrosion on there. Running the fan. Looks nice and clean. Don't see any staining. Floor is laminate and it looks good. Okay, and then we'll just make our way around to each room. Cosmetic damage on the door there. Overall picture. As I enter the room, I just like to go around, check walls, ceiling, some small areas of repair. Every outlet that I can reach, I will try and test. Windows, I'm looking for caulking around the edges. Make sure that they're sealed. Checking for damaged panes, functionality. Making sure that they latch. There are some outlets we can't reach. Checking walls, ceilings, floor. The closets. We've got just a smoke alarm in here. So we're checking for smoke alarms and carbon monoxide. So we've got one in the bedroom, and then just right outside we do have smoke and carbon monoxide within 15 feet of a sleeping area. I'm seeing some discoloration on the ceiling, possibly from moisture buildup. I don't see any staining as if it's a leak. It's more like condensation drips. So I'll note that in the report. If the outlets are taken, I may not remove their things. If it's just a plug here that I can remove easily and put back, I'll go ahead and check it. Put their things back. Some of the windows are blocked. We won't be able to test those. Missing light fixture covers. Checking that the door latches. Smoke alarm is good. I just want to check the ceilings and walls of the closet, because a lot of times there can be leaks that people don't see inside there because they're often full. Smoke alarm. Looks like there's some possible repairs back here on the wall. This is next to the shower from the other guest bathroom. Just some repairs noted. No door here, but that's all right. Some more electrical cables heading to the outside. So I'll just note that I can't fully test the windows and the locks because of those items. And I've got an outlet that appears to be wired incorrectly. Oh, actually, might just be a little bit loose. As I wiggled it a little bit, it came on. So I'll just note that in the report. The outlet is loose. Not a lot of access in this room. Check the doors. Sometimes there's different latches, different types of doors. Go ahead and check this exterior door as far as I can. Checking the hardware. Can't see the exterior light from here. I'm gonna leave it on and see if I can go around and catch it. I'm just gonna take some general photos. I just would make my way around the interior, checking walls as I'm walking. I'm feeling for the floor. Outlet works. Found some cracking in the ceiling with some repairs. Possible moisture damage previously. Go ahead and grab my thermal camera. Again, we haven't had any moisture recently. I like to check just in case. Okay, there's another carbon monoxide and smoke detector by this bedroom, so that's good. There's actually another dual one in here. Okay, just checking windows, seals, panes, damage, trim. Looking for moisture intrusion, damage. Taking a look at the screens, making sure there's no damage. All right, now we've got my thermal camera up. I'm gonna head back and just take a quick look. Looks like there's some cool spots at the corner, but not at the actual crack. You can see the rafters in there. There's another spot over here I wanted to look at. Near the furnace. Go ahead and take some pictures. Checking ceilings, walls for damage, cracking, leaks, staining. So a lot of times if there's an outlet that doesn't work and the other one does, you want to look for a switch. I'm not seeing maybe secondary switch. One of the outlets not working. I try to find it if I can, but I don't spend too much time on it. Bathrooms start with hot, the sink. Checking the drain lines, supply lines. Once again, I'm not seeing any shut-off valves. That water is hot, hot. No stoppers. That sink's draining a little bit slowly. And this one resets right here. So this one is the first one. So I see there's actually a crack in the gooseneck here, and there's water coming out from the top. So that's a plumber fix. Checking hot and cold, checking for caulking around the fixtures, and I'm also making sure that it's draining properly. It's a little bit sticky. So I'm looking around the tub, looking for caulking on the tiles and around. Same thing, I'm going to start with the hot. See, there's a little damage on the tub there. Looks like something melted it. All right, this faucet's super loose. Stopper's missing. Even though I can't test all the windows, I still try to take a look at them if I can. Checking for broken panes in the seals. There's no access under this tub, so I'll just make a note that when I'm in the crawl space, I definitely want to look under all the bathrooms and kitchens where there's water. Just going to take an extra look here. Okay, now on this sink I'm seeing some corrosion on that overflow. This one isn't sealed up like the last one. So we're going to test it. Okay. Now, I couldn't get a lot of water down there, but I could see there is some moisture right here. So it's not a lot, but over time it'll create this buildup and it will leak if you had a stopped up sink. And this one just has minor corrosion buildup there a little bit. I'm going to give it a shot too. Especially with that slow drain, the drain backs up. It needs to go down that overflow. You don't want that to leak. Nothing specifically coming out of that one. All right. One last look, checking the light fixtures, ceiling. Let's get this fan going. You want to make sure the fan is running. You want to make sure you can hear it. You want to make sure it's not making loud noises. If the cover is too dirty, I will call that out. Actually had my boss walk into a house to start an inspection and the bathroom fan was on fire. And she had to put it out and call the fire department. So that's something that we always take a good look at. Attic access is in this closet here. So I will go ahead and go get suited up and head up in the attic. So that's the interior of the house. So I'm just putting a blanket down here. Obviously, the real estate agent warned these guys that we're going to be getting up in the attic, and they went ahead and covered all their clothes, which is really nice. If they didn't do that, I would be taking this blanket and trying to cover up the clothes as best as possible. We do let them know. Alright, I want to be careful with this blanket on carpet. I don't like that, so I'm actually going to go ahead and remove this blanket. I'm going to put a mask on. There's a lot of dust and potential, animal feces in an attic. I also do that for a crawl space. I put some gloves on, and I have a headlamp because sometimes these locations are really tight and it's hard to get to your flashlight. So you just got to be ready to go. And this is super tight in here. The other reason why I like to wear gloves is because sometimes after an inspection your hands are pretty dirty, and usually these attic hatches are white. Actually, I saw a light switch here that I don't know what it's for. Could be up there. If it was, there's no light bulb, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on my lamp. It's a little tight up here. Not too bad. We're looking for construction components, so joists, rafters, trusses. This is a manufactured home, so I'm making sure that the two sides are lined up. I found some damage right over here on the sheathing, so looking for moisture stains on the decking, looking for cracked trusses or joists. I saw one minor one over here. Making sure that ventilation is all going to the outside. You don't want bathroom vents venting into the attic, or flues or anything else. Checking the flues for water stains and all the penetrations. Looking for evidence of moisture intrusion, which there are several spots in here, but when I look up above, it doesn't look like there's a source currently, so it could be that they were replaced. Looking for wiring, electrical. We want the electrical to be tied down to the studs, not just running loose everywhere. Insulation. We want to see a nice even layer of insulation, and we want it to be 12 plus inches. This one's a little bit low. So another thing I mentioned I want to look for is like the bathroom fans. If they vent up through the attic, you want to make sure that you can see them venting up through the roof. Sometimes you can see, a pipe or a vent or duct laying there into the attic. Sometimes it's not there at all. So try to keep a mental count of how many attic penetrations you might have, whether it's a flue, stove, bathroom vents, things like that, and make sure that they go up all the way out through the roof. We're about to hop down in the crawl space under this house. We're looking for foundational issues, plumbing leaks, insulation. Basically, you're looking for all the standards of practice and then anything else that you can see. So I'm checking this to make sure there's no rusting or corrosion. And I'm going to hop down there and just start going. So I like to take a look first before I get too far in, just make sure there's nothing alive moving around in here. Down in the crawl space, I'm going to take some general photos. What I'm seeing here, looking at the posts, looking at this plumbing pipe, making sure got the proper pitch so the water goes downhill. Make sure that it's got its supports. I'm looking at the columns. I'm seeing some posts as well as concrete columns. Right here on this vapor barrier, see some what looks like drips. So I'm going to look up above there. I'm going to take a look at these posts. I see that they're bolted to the underside of the house. Looks like they're missing some of the bolts to the concrete here. Just got 2 instead of 4. And that would be up to the manufacturer's recommendations, but I'm going to call it out either way. So I'm looking at the foundation walls. There are concrete foundation walls. I'm not seeing any cracking or movement. So right here is the water main line coming in from the street. I'm trying to get a little bit closer. See if I can see what the material is. If you're not a fan of spiders, like I'm not, it's not my favorite part of the job. Alright, so I can see from here where it goes into the ground, it is copper. It's got a brass knob here for the shutoff, main water shutoff. Checking for moisture leaks. I can see here there's a copper wire. That's the ground for your electrical panel. Okay, I'm turning around. I'm looking at. I see that the insulation under the house is bowed down just a little bit. I'll make a note of that. The main drain line. I'm feeling for moisture as I'm crawling over this vapor barrier. It does appear it's not sealed all the way around. You can see I can lift this up and it's not glued or taped to the edges. Looking for evidence of moisture, condensation, leaks, any other issues. I'm going to give this column a little tug. Some loose wires, mostly low voltage. Checking each post. Looks like they all just have 2 bolts to the concrete. Some holes in this insulation. Looks like some tape came loose. They just need to, once again, this insulation underneath the floor. It's just bowing down a little bit. Looks like there's no straps to hold it in place. And the only place that it was tacked up was on the edges. In the middle of the house and on the edges. So I'll just make a note of that. Foundation wall all the way around. Looking good. Looks like there might have been some water damage up here. Looks like it's been taped over. Previous damage. See some rusting on this post here. See some moisture stains from a previous leak. Sorry, sometimes it's hard to get these electronics to work down here in tight spaces. So anytime I see a leak, I look up. Here's the condensation line from the furnace going into the drain line. Stain is dry right now. Seeing a lot of dust down here. So if you remember, we saw the dryer duct outside had an improper vent. It looks like the dryer has at least previously been vented into this crawl space. There's dust and lint, debris. Seeing water staining down. We are underneath the primary bathroom right now, and I also see some corrosion on this water line here. Feeling it's not currently wet. This looks like the dryer vents to the exterior now. Foundation wall and footers look good. Checking for supports of the plumbing pipes, drain lines coming down under the kitchen, looks like. Some other moisture stains. Nothing wet currently. See, there's a loose water line. Possibly used to be to an old refrigerator. It's now just disconnected. I would recommend capping that off if it's even connected to a water line. Oh, I see. That water line is actually going to the exterior through a vent in the crawl space. It could potentially be for a swamp cooler. There is no air conditioning unit at this house. Looking at the sill plate up there, I do see the insulation between the sill plate, concrete. That's about it. So we're all finished at this house. Found some damage in the attic, electrical outlets without covers on the exterior, and the dishwasher was leaking. Those were the main issues with this house. Thanks for watching. I'm Veronica with Live Safe Home Inspections. If you want to watch more videos like this, go to nachi.org. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.